Finally, after testing this car internationally, which seems like years ago, having a massive pandemic, now it's here. There's three versions of this car: the 208 petrol, 208 diesel, and then the e208, which is a full electric. This one is the full electric. There is a couple of versions of this one as well. It starts at about 27,000 euro, a little bit over that. That includes the grants that you can have as well, which is 5,000 from the SEAI, 5,000 of a VRT rebate. And then this one, which is the GT, this is the other end of the line, so it's about 32.5, give or take, and maybe a little bit more than that, including those grants off. There is a few options that are on this car as well, which drives the price a bit further. But I can tell you right now, this, I'm going to spoil the ending of this. I'm going to spoil the ending of this, okay? Just bear in mind, this is the best electric car you can have on the market today, bar none. The competition, though, is starting to get fierce, and that's exactly what we're after. So find out why this one today, maybe not tomorrow, but today, is the best electric car in the market in Ireland. Let's do this. So look, I'm going to use the little sun thing to have a look around the outside of the car. One thing you'll notice straight away is when you get near the car, it unlocks. And when you walk away from the car, it locks again. Now that's a problem, and I'll tell you why, Peugeot, before I actually go any further. The problem with that locking system is when there's someone in the car, it locks anyway. So when I get out and walk away, and there's kids in the back, even though they have their seatbelts on, it still locks the doors. Why does it do that? Anyway, forget about that for a minute. Technical issue, I'm sure there's a setting I haven't turned off somewhere. Let's have a look at the exterior. Right, so you can see the front grille here is really outstanding. See these little things that are here? These are really nice, and it's got a little kind of shaded colour. I hope you can see that. The silver on the inside and kind of a bluish tinge to the outside. Very nice. I came with the bonnet line across the middle, which means this bit is plastic, this bit is metal, so they're trying to keep the two of them separate these days. And the lines are so tight that this one actually comes to a very sharp point right here. That's quite sharp, but it's lovely. In the front, this has Peugeot full LED technology. You got the lion claws and the big cut or whatever that is down here from the Peugeot thing. And on the side of the car, you have these very filled in alloys, and they've upgraded the brakes on this because this car is actually 1,500 kgs, 1.5 tons, 500 kgs more than its petrol version. Bear that in mind. It's heavy. All electric cars are, because batteries are heavy. And we come to the battery part later on. Okay, so you have the filled-in alloys here. You have a long swoopy line on the side. There's terrible weather at the moment, so the cars are always dirty here. The only way you distinguish this from a standard 208 is this E. That's it. That's the only thing on the outside to really distinguish this. Okay, so I have the filled-in arches with the black edges around them, but they're on the 208 as well. You can see the car is locking and unlocking as I get closer and further away from it. It drives me up the wall. And in the back of the car is very, very pretty. This is very pretty. Look, you've got the lion claws here again. You got that GT rear end, the black bar going across here. The lion is filled in on this one as well. Lovely black spoiler in the back. It's just so pretty. This car is so pretty from every angle. It's not just the colour. It doesn't matter what the colour is, although I'm not too keen on it in grey. There's a grey colour comes in. It's quite boring looking. These colours, there's a yellow one of this. It looks outstanding. Looks beautiful from the front. I can't complain about the look of the exterior of the car. For sure, it's got the edge on the Renault Zoe and on the Mini. For sure, which would be its main competitors. Right, outside done, have a look at the inside. So look at the good stuff continues on the inside. Let me explain why. There's a good thud from the door. Hear that? Nice and reassuring, isn't it? It's good. And the dashboard layout, although it's black, is actually very cool. I love this scooped out bit here. I like that bit at the top as well. It all seems quite nice. I'd love if that was Alcantara, but it's not. It's sort of a plastic. Good quality materials, no problem with that. This black piano black stuff is kind of scratchy, a little bit scratchy. And you'll find, you will, if you start looking around, the top of the doors, up here on the edge, things you don't commonly touch, you will find to be a little bit cheaper plastic. And that's quite normal in these kind of cars. But generally speaking, everything here is really well laid out and really well done. Now, we do have the bugbear, and it's the elephant in the room for me, of course, is uses a small steering wheel and the touchscreen controls. This is the first Peugeot, if you're from the UK, that I've driven that the small steering wheel is fine. And we'll go through that in the drive now in a few minutes. But right now I can tell you straight off that this small steering wheel in this car does not bother me at all, because it feels very nimble, it feels very nicely done. And the touchscreen I will come to as well as we go along. But you get lots of storage here. So you got this little kind of a cubby hole here, which could be a wireless charging tray if you're expensively able to options. That closes up. You get USB-C and USB. And down here you have another bin thing down here. Then coming back further, you got the normal gear stick from Peugeot now. I got a little water bottle holder here. The drive modes are beside that. And then if I go back further, you got another little storage down there. It's not massive on storage, and one of the biggest problems is, of course, the Peugeot glove box, which is rubbish, because in their foreign models, in the ones that have steering wheels on that side, the glove box is over here and it's huge. And then over this side here, I have another bottle holder in the door, which does hold anything up to sort of wine bottle size will fit in that door. And then you have little connections down here. But cool bits all start when the car is starting up. So you can see all these 3D things that are happening here, this system, and that's just gorgeous. That's worth specking. Can I just say, if that's an option on the car and you want to buy it, because it's worth it, definitely. The controls for in here, I can change that round to make it look, oh wait, no, it's this side, is it? It's one of them. There we are, right. So you can go to, look, dials, so energy, and here we go, look, it changes, whoop, and it goes like that. It's just outstandingly pretty, beautifully done. I love that it's a raised binnacle. You actually get your hands in behind here. The indicator lights up here, see it there? That comes up here. I'm sure other warning lights are there as well, one on the other side, but that's on cater for outside this thing, and then inside is all beautifully done in there. Absolutely gorgeous. That is gorgeous and worth your money. I've never seen anything look as, it's just like it's supposed to be there. It doesn't feel like an option, it feels like it's supposed to be there the whole time. That gives you driving information. Those wheels turn and stuff as well. We see that on the drive. Then we come to this, the touch screen of this thing. Okay, so this has always been my problem, in that if you want to change the temperature, you have to touch the temperature thing up here and then to go up and down. So yeah, I get it. It's still a problem. It's still a big issue for me. I still think a knob, a dial is much more intuitive than this stuff. Now you have, down below here, you have these other buttons which allow you to do functions around the car. So you can do that and turn things off. In some specs, you will find that there's a little touch pad up here at the top. You can see that's not happening in my car. I can feel there should be buttons there, but there isn't buttons there. Now you can, of course, go in here and change your settings. You can go in here to the phone, you can go into the other apps, the photos and things, the music stuff, right? So Apple CarPlay is attached as well. Yes, it does have Apple CarPlay. Yes, it does have Android Auto. I need to get my phone in my pocket, hold on. Okay, so I've plugged in Apple CarPlay and it is operational. Apple CarPlay is here, but look, I can't get at it. I don't understand why they've done this. They kind of hide it. So you press things and when you click nav, it goes to here, which is your Apple CarPlay. But from here, once you're in that screen, there's no way out of it. You have to press the nav button, which brings you to your nav on your Apple CarPlay. Then you can go back in here. It's a bit fiddly here and there, you know what I mean? There's fiddly parts of it, but generally speaking, it's okay. Now, I am not a massive fan of touch screens on the move. They're relatively safe most of the time. But when I'm driving and I want to adjust the temperature or the volume control, I want to just reach over, like the volume control is here, okay, so that's a volume control, so it's fine, it's a physical button. But if I want to control the temperature, I have to go, I missed again, now it's not working, you see. When it's in Apple CarPlay mode, AC bits up at the top don't work. See, you have to press that, and then you can press your temperature control. And then you can press the nav and go back to this again. It's very fiddly. Too many clicks, Peugeot. Too many clicks. I really do think so. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the back seat before we go any further. First thing I'll say about the back door is it's tiny. This door is tiny. It's much smaller than the front door. That's okay. You can still get in and out, but it's a bit of a squeeze. As you can see, I'm hitting my head off the roof. And I don't fit behind the seats. So I don't fit here. My knees are just in, there's no space left here. I'm 6'1", and I just about fit under the roof here. It wouldn't be a very comfy drive if I was driving a long way. I really would have to adjust my legs, my knees, try and get in here. Now kids don't seem to complain about this at all. The kids are fine with it. The only complaint one of my daughters had was the door is very small. It doesn't open very wide, it's quite small. And when I'm closing it, I hit my elbow off the back panel. It's just so tight. Everything's so tight in here. I don't know why they've made it so. I know the batteries are here under the boot, under the seat, and I know that they've managed to keep the height right. You know, they scooped out the roof a bit to make it happen. But you do get 2 USB ports, not USB-C, just USB here in the back, and you don't get an armrest. You do get seats that fold up. So it's a 60/40 on this side, as you can see here, and you do get to be able to see right into the boot. It is not a flat floor here at all, and it's not a flat floor in the back either, but you can reach right into the boot from the back passenger seat. Now, there's a problem. As you can see, the seatbelt gets stuck behind that seat, so you have to drag it out around the seat and put it back in again. ISOFIX is here and here on both of these seats, and it's actually on the front seat as well. So if you've got 3 child seats, this will be able to accommodate all that. If you're a tall driver and you're looking for someone tall behind you, it's a bit tight. It's just uncomfortable. Anyway, boot. So this is my rainy day car park, because if it rains I can get to a shopping centre very quickly. The back of this car is gorgeous, we've done that. The boot itself is actually quite big. It's bigger than the Minis. I think it's 311 litres in here. It's plenty big, like you plenty of stuff fit in it, but it does have a big step down and a step over that side. There is a single shopping bag hook, not one on the far side. I don't know what cost saving happened there. And funny enough, this is not an LED light, this is a halogen lights in here. This thing is your battery, is your cables, bag of cables. Your bag of cables. Now, in this press car, there is a 3-pin plug one, and there is a standard street charger one. My cable at home, my home charger, is an EV box installed by Mulher Electrical, and it's got a tethered connection on it, so I don't need those cables for home at all. They just sit in the boot. But you can see that that cable box is basically the same size as my camera bag. So that's a chunk of your boot gone in carrying cables. Just so you're aware that cables are a bloody nightmare at times. Under here, there's nothing. Look, he had a tyre inflation kit and a tow bar thing. No spare wheel, that is the merit point. But look, it is a big space. It's 311 litres. You have plenty of stuff in it. We went hill walking the other day and had a great time. No problem carrying all the stuff. Had to leave the cables at home though. Right, driving. So driving. Now, excuse the camera here. This is going to show you this thing, which is the battery readout and stuff that you can do here. So when I'm in here, you can go into different parts of this. So you can go to driving here, which gives you a whole different ball game, different aspect ratio to the interior. You can see a 200 kilometer range. I haven't charged this morning. I actually forgot to charge it last night. I was going to fully charge it, but then I completely forgot about it. So it's fine though. I still have 200 kilometers, so I'm okay. So dials looks like that. As you can see, it changes everything again. I kind of like the dials one, but for the purposes of the review, I'm going to show you the energy one, because it actually shows you the car getting energy, receiving energy, deceleration. It shows you everything, right? By the way, if you pull up somewhere and you put it in P and you leave the engine running, that happens. That is terrifying, Peugeot. That sounds like a plane crashing, is what that sounds like to me. It's terrifying sound. Even though it's in park, like, it's not going to roll away because it's in park. But yeah, I know you're supposed to apply the park and brake, but it's a warning, but it was frightening the bejesus out of you. So Peugeot have had to upgrade the suspension in this car because it's so heavy. It's 1500 kg. So they've upgraded the front suspension, but they've also upgraded the back suspension because it carries the weight of the batteries. You can actually feel how solid it is in the road, particularly when you're coming off a speed bump, as it kind of hops down. It feels really hard. But yes, yesterday when I was driving up the Sleep Blue Mountains, the suspension is outstanding. The road hauling is beautiful. The weight is very low down in the car, so it feels like it's really hugging the road all the time. A word on the steering. It's a bit light, and this A-pillar here really does get in the way when you're coming around the right-hand corner. It's not so obvious on that side, but this side is very big A-pillar on this. But the steering is very light, and that's okay because it weights up nicely as you go through a corner. It's the first time I've had the small steering wheel in a situation where I actually kind of like it. Where is that person going in the van? You see that van driver over there? I don't know if you can see that in that camera, but look, he just drove up the footpath. That's just pig ignorant. What happens to people walking, running, cyclists? Well, I know cyclists aren't supposed to go on the footpath, but what happens to them all the same? Hey, don't block the road, they won't walk any further than the car park, which is up 50 metres back the other way. Anyway, so driving the car is very pleasant experience. It's very quiet, as you would expect a electric car to be. Now, I will say that on deceleration, you really have to listen for it, but if you're not playing a radio or anything in the car, when you decelerate, it really does make a sort of a whine. There's an electrical whine that's quite obvious. It's louder than other electric cars that I've noticed. But it's so easy to drive. I doubt the mic has picked that up, but you can hear it. When you're a driver in the car, you can actually hear that whine. Now, I do have some drive modes here. Then we do the sport, and there's normal, and there's eco, right? So it unleashes 131 horsepower, which is a lot, actually, when you think about it, for most of these cars. So under normal circumstances, when you accelerate, it's actually quite forceful. It's not very forceful. It's not going to shove you hard back in a seat. Yet 0 to 60 is 7.8 or 8 seconds or so, which is no slouch. It's fine. It'll do the business. Really, what you buy an electric car for is range. You want it to be as economical as possible. So, eco is a fairly okay mode for that range idea. But realistically, what you want to be is in normal the whole time, because you just don't want the fuss of worrying about the eco. Because eco just decelerates the whole car. Performance and thermal comfort limited, which means it turns off the bloody air conditioning while you're driving, which is uncomfortable. Given that Ireland today is made of soup, it's like walking through sort of a thick potato soup out there, because of it's humid but it's raining. Normal is good, just delivers everything's normal, air conditioning works, and sport then gives you an extra few horsepower. It makes that throttle response really sharp, so when you touch it, it's like whoa, but it unleashes all of the capabilities of the car. We don't want to do that today. We want to drive it like a normal car. Now, yesterday, now this car is still only getting used to me, so these, what you call in electric terms, guessometers, right? So it's this thing, it guesses how far you might be able to go on the electric charge. Yesterday, when I got up on a full charge, it said 210 kilometers. I drove up the mountains, and then I drove back down to the mountains, and obviously coming down the mountain, I did no acceleration at all. It just recouped its energy, until eventually, by the time it reached the bottom of the mountain, I had gone back up to 210 kilometers, and it's kind of sticking in around the 200 mark now. The problem is all electric cars on motorways struggle terribly, right? So they just do, because they never get a chance. They don't get a break on a motorway. That's why diesels are king of motorways. Diesels are only ticking over the 120 kilometers now. I mean big diesels, not those little weedy 1.6 diesels, but the bigger diesels are only really ticking over. So they put in extra gears. Some of the diesels have 7, 8, 9 gears these days in the automatic, 6 gears in the manual, whereas this has 1. It's just spinning faster to make you go faster. There's actually a Nissan Leaf, a Gen 1, Gen 1, 2, maybe 2 Nissan Leaf ahead of me. But this has the range and the legs to go at full speed. So we're going to zoom it up here. And unlike that Nissan Leaf, we can actually go at 120 because we have the technology. We can rebuild it. A 161 Nissan Leaf, and doing what I always expect Nissan Leaf drivers to do, Generation 1 Nissan Leaf drivers to do, is to drive slowly. Because if you want to go at the maximum range, and this applies to any car, be it ICE, internal combustion, or electric, you drive slower, right? So if you drive further, you drive slower. If you want to go there quickly, you're going to use more fuel, no matter what kind of fuel you're using. And that's normal. So you can see here on this little camera that it's just draining the battery driving at 120. But yet, quiet cabin, very pleasant in here. There's a Golf driver. And the TDI, I knew it would be a TDI. It's almost a TDI driver. But it's very quiet in here. We're hoovering along the road and it's all very pleasant. Nice and quiet. You do feel that damper and the shock absorber really having to work hard because of the extra weight. Don't forget, 1.5 ton car. This is, you know, this would be like a Range Rover from not so long ago, weight-wise. And if you tick back, this has about the same 0 to 60 time as like a 208 GTI from Gen 2, Gen 3, somewhere around there. So it's a quick car, like it's not a slow car. The most pleasant driving in this car comes from sitting on the back roads. It really does absorb those bumps very nice. It feels like a substantial car on the road. It actually feels like a good car on the road. But I will make a big complaint here, Peugeot, about driving on a motorway. So if I turn it on, lane keeping. Lane keeping is my latest bugbear. It has problems, guys. It really does. So the lane keeping system doesn't know if I'm on a motorway or on a by road. Okay, so if I push without indicating, go near the white line, it nudges me back into the lane again, right? But if I go into the outside lane, like I'm overtaking a car here, think of this as a B road. Now it tries to keep me in this lane. Because the other day I was overtaking a car on a B road, perfectly legally, he was driving slowly. I went out into that lane and then it tried to force me to stay in that lane on a B road with cars coming at me. Now, speaking of B roads, we're going to get off this motorway for a few minutes and go back onto a sort of B road view to the thing. As you can see, now it's starting to decelerate. Now it's starting to generate electricity back into the car. It's really starting to run, but it's actually quite efficient at doing it. I started out with, I think I had 90 kilometers left yesterday going downhill from Sleep Blooms. By the time I reached the bottom, I could do 210. So it's pretty efficient at gathering its energy back in again, which is like, that's free electricity. So I quite like that. I like the free. The free bit is the most important part. Speaking of which, electricity on the street is no longer free from next month, right? So I think it's September, August. I think it's August. Mid-August is where this starts, right? So even the 22 kilowatt chargers, which would be deemed slow chargers, they are going to start charging money as well. Here we go. We're going to overtake. Look. So the lane keeping is on. Watch what happens when I try to pull back into the lane. It's pushing me back out to that side of the road. You have to forcefully push the car into this lane if you don't indicate. That's scary. My best advice to you is turn off the lane keeping when you're not on a motorway. That's essentially what it is. Just press the button and turn it off. It's there. You can turn it on and off all you please. I do advise that. So from August, the grants stay in place. So this is still 10 grand grant on it. It's still too expensive. It is one of the upper echelon priced electric cars you can have. The Renault Zoe is cheaper and the Renault Zoe has more range. This has more style. So between the two, visually, I'd be much happier looking at this than I would be at a Renault Zoe. Zoe is very nice, but this is outstandingly pretty car. The Zoe's cheaper and has more range, can go a little bit further, but this is quite efficient as well. They both have good points and bad points. Being dead honest, there's good points and bad points. If you're looking for a second car, a car just to have outside the door as electric every once in a while, and you want to use it here and there, it's not necessarily going to be the primary car of the house, and you're not concerned with looks or whatever, well, maybe the Renault Zoe is the way to go. But if you really are and you want a bit of style, a bit of substance, something that looks really, really handsome all of the time in every situation, it drives very well, it feels very nice on the road, then this is the obvious choice. Now, there is another fly in the ointment here, in that Opel have a version of this car coming, and so do Citroen. So both of those, they're all one group now. So both of those cars will be based basically on this one. So electric car now is starting to go up in price because it's no longer free to charge on the street. It's no longer free to charge at the fast charger points. They're all starting to charge for everything. Okay, so you really have to do your maths here as to whether this is going to work for you or not. I don't think diesel cars are going anywhere in the near future. And anyway, most people who buy a car these days only hold on for 3 years. You know, they use PCP, they buy it and they trade it in. If you're using PCP, you got a guaranteed minimum future value anyway, so it's not going to affect it. But I'm not going to get into semantics of who did what to who and how it's working. Just to say that electric cars are not as cheap as they used to be. If you regularly charge on the street, it's now going to cost you a lot more money than it did before, because the 22 kilowatt chargers are being charged for, as is the fast charger. You're still the best option to charge at home. To charge this car on my EV box fitted by Mulhero Electrical, on that, to charge it from zero, very rarely happens, to full, take about 6 hours, 7 hours, thereabouts. Very unlikely you're going to run down to zero. I charged it the other day from about 40% of its battery to full, and that was 100%, and I did that in about 3 hours actually, so that was much more normal speed. A full charge from empty to full will cost you about a £5 at home. Depends on a rate of electricity you're paying, obviously. I'm paying about 11 cents. You can get it a bit cheaper than that. If you go night rate, it'll be even cheaper than that again, but that's semantics. Let's just assume you're on 11 cents. It's going to cost you about €5 to fill this car from scratch. So it's cheaper, sort of. It's not desperately cheaper, because you're only going to get about 200 to 250 kilometers range for a £5. Look, and if you're interested in cars, then you should be subscribed to this channel anyway, because I go to reviewing every single electric car on the market that is available this week, today, right now. I'm actually going to book in a Tesla Model 3 Performance just for the crack, because I know it's 3 years old, but I'm going to test it anyway. So yeah, keep in touch. I'd very much like your subscription on this channel. Your support is very appreciated as well. There is a list of links down below if you can support the channel in some way. The Sunday service will return very, very soon. I'm going to bring that back on. And the channel is 10 years old and 50,000 subscribers now. Well, just a little over it. So we're doing pretty good. I'm quite happy the way the channel's going at the moment, and I hope that continues. It'd be great to have you here for the rest of the time. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have any questions, leave them down below. But thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, I will see you on the far side.